Left late in the morning, went to play lower league with Maidstone. We had 1 year in the Football League, 10 months. Played against Dublin actually when I was at Cambridge. You all know Joe remember Dublin and went to play for Man United. And then I got picked up by Wigan, 300,000, which was a lot of money then for a lower league. That's someone's wages, which is quite amazing. Because the whole of me on my play. So I had the opportunity to play there, and then you go from non-league, lower league, and then you go into the great game, which is in the old first division, which is the Premier League now. But it had that culture of no one's bigger than the club, no one's bigger than the team, and you all stick together. So Vinny had already left and gone to your club, Chelsea, I believe. I think he'd already gone there, major then was at Sheffield United. But they still had people like John Fashanu, Loris Sanchez, who scored the winning goal in the FACup final against Liverpool. So he was still there. Good players like John Scales, Robbie Ellis, who got his TV work now in America, Dean Holden. We had some good players. We still had the culture of playing the crazy game in. There's a few stories that we had with Andy Clark, a kid that comes from Brighton, from Barton, lower league, brought someone in. He had to pay his council tax, his house tax at that time. And people used to come to the training ground just down in London, just off the A3. This time they come with one hand, so they're going to take them away. So we said to Andy Clark, this is a crazy game where you all sit together and make sure you're okay. Popped up, Fashion used boot with his Mercedes, said to Andy Clark, get in the back of there, jump in there, lock it down. So when we're training, people looking at us, you're not big, but they go that you're not around. There's people looking everywhere. Crazy game being a crazy game, well, you know what, we leave him in there. So we trained for an hour and a half, had food, left him in there. We didn't realise he's claustrophobic. So he's come out of the boot, he's gone crazy chasing after. But that was the initiation centre. I just been at the club, got into the England setup with Graham Taylor, the late Graham Taylor. A few media there, come down, just off the A3, as I said, on the training ground. Coming along, all the lads have done a little parade. Congratulations, you made it into the England squad. One of the first players since John Fashanu got it in 10 years earlier. So they decided to strip you, throw you in a puddle and kick you in the goalies, and that's your initiation test. But we used to do it all the time. And we had a great, I see him the other day, I got my legacy cap with England, Mick Hartford. People in this part of the world would know Mick. What a player he was, and as hard as now. You talk about hard players, with all due respect, you talk about Joe Linton. People like Vinny and Mick Hartford would have him for breakfast.
Mick Hartford was that hard, he was harder than the skin on Gary Bennett's left foot.
But Mick come into the crazy gang and you had him as well. So you'd come into a game against, we moved from Plough Lane, which is a very smaller stadium, to Selhurst Park, but it's at a very tight tunnel. So as you're going onto the pitch, there'd always be someone from Southampton or Coventry or Norwich. Oh, that's not the crazy gang, that's not the team we know. My knowledge, you've got Mick Hartford, Fashanu, and then by this time, Vinny had come back. So he'd come back into the change. So we'd come out the tunnel, and me, brave as a lion, as always, the first one, the big Norwegian would be standing there, I'd go, Fash, that's the one that King said about we're not Wimbledon, we're not strong anymore. He'd come out, muscle on muscle, all on eye, go, hey big man, me and you today. And you could guarantee it, within 5 to 10 minutes you'd hear, slap, the big centre-half's on the floor, no cameras there, no VAR, big centre-half's on the floor, we win the game 2-0, Fash gets 2 goals, we stay in the Premier League. And that was our winner. We had to win games by doing physical things or intimidating people, and we did that. I remember my first initiation test as well with Fashanu, talking about Big Fash. There was a little bit of a scuffle with an Everton team, and that time they had people like Peter Reid, Ratcliffe. They had some good players and strong characters as well. So I've run in the middle, again, brave as a lion, trying to break it up. Fash has come in, smacked my arm down, nearly broke my arm, got in the middle, a little scuffle. It's just before half time, so I'm walking in thinking, I'll just stop to fly. I'm one of the crazy guys. He's picked me up by my underpants and my hair and threw me against the wall and said, don't you effing ever do that again. It's always us against them. And that mentality from lower league, working with plumbers, electrician, sticking together, fighting, for the crazy gang, I know sometimes it's not Pep's total football, but we did whatever we needed to do to stay in the Premier League. And that togetherness and spirit, and Vinny was a big part of that. As I said, Vinny had come back from Sheffield United, and I was wearing number 4. which, you know, is Vinny's number. He's always had, I mean, obviously later on in my career, number 2 was my number. So we're on having a stretch, cool down afterwards, and Vinny's come walking to me. I'm on the floor, 6'2". He's not the biggest Vinny, but he's fucking scary. So he's come walking over, and I'm like, he went, hey, Wally. So I said, yes, Mr. Jones. He went, number 4. I said, yes, Mr. Jones. He went, that's my number. Is that all right? I said, no problem, Mr. Jones. No problem at all. You take my number. But a lovely, lovely man. A great person to be around. He's had his ups and downs, obviously. But Wimbledon really grinding you into a person where you give everything, you stick together, you fight, you do whatever you need to do. There's a great learning curve for me. There was a football club that maybe should have got relegated every single season, but we finished, in my time, 7th, 8th, 10th, 11th. Mid-table, we was comfortable, and great people. Does anyone ever remember when Vinny went in goal with the Wimbledon games? That epitomises what Vinny's like. You know, he'd roll his sleeves up and have a go. Still been a friend of mine in Los Angeles. I've been to some of his parties, and he does Sunday football where he wants you to join in as well. So, yes, a great, great person, lovely fella.
And you've also got on great with Joe Kinnear as well, who passed spell with us.
Yeah, I mean, Joe was ideal for Wimbledon at the time. I mean, he wasn't, God rest his soul, because I love him, but he wasn't a Newcastle manager. He didn't quite understand the dynamics. It's a special football club. So is Wimbledon in its own way. So we had the great Peter Wiff just before Joe come as manager, told us we had to be clean shaven, couldn't wear jeans. That ain't going to fly there. That ain't going to fly at Wimbledon. You ain't telling Fash what to do. You're not telling Vinnie Jones what to do. So he lasted 10 months, and then Joe Kinnear took over. Joe Kinnear is the first, we talk about people being advanced, he was the first person to do a call down. So we're playing on Tuesday, we'll all meet up on Wednesday at David Lloyd. Little did we know, the actual call down, that you couldn't leave until 6 p.m. So you'd go into the David Lloyd, you'd go and have a sauna and a stretch and everything else, and then you come into the lounge where there'd be a table full of food and drink, and Joe would be there. But that was his camaraderie to make us stick together, work for each other, and he was had a really good coach with him as well called Terry Barton, and we had good senior players in that club at the time. But Joe was perfect at that time, Joe. You know, management is a big part of elite players or top players, so that's what I think, and he does so well. His man management skill was good. So Bobby Robson, Kevin Keegan, their management skill, Rude Hullet, not so much, but management skill was part of Joe's strong bit. The only thing with Joe, when you knew he was telling a little fib, he'd scratch his head like that. So there was times that in 93, 95, I'd already spoken to Blackburn, I'd already spoken to Arsenal, spoken to Everton as well. So Joe's called me up to his room, upstairs in one of the things. Never, always coming out of the shower. You know, like a manager that would call you into his room, but he'd just come out of the shower. Not a pleasant view. You know what I mean? Not. And I love Joe, and as I said, but not the greatest looking man at the best of time. Typical Paddy, white, got the little belly and everything. So he's sitting in there and said, Gaffer, look, you know, obviously I've been here 4 years now. I know there's 1 or 2 clubs. No clubs have come in for you. And as soon as he did that, I went, I said, I got you there. I said, yeah, no, I've spoken to some. No, you haven't. No one has spoken to us about you. 2 days later, I'm at home on a Sunday, and it's the Blackburn played Newcastle on a bank holiday Monday, and Alan Shearer was with Blackburn. He scored at the far post against Newcastle. That sort of result won them the league. So I don't know if you remember that, but Kevin had come down from Blackburn to come and meet me, but Joe Kinnear had phoned me up at my house beforehand and said, we've agreed a deal with Newcastle, get your agent and come over. I don't know to this day, and I wish I would have seen him, he's left the phone down. So my owner at Wimbledon had said to Joe, he doesn't know we've agreed to fees, does he? He doesn't know that everything's done. So I'm thinking, yes, I'm in here. I've got to buy the ball, so he's got to let me go. So whatever Wimbledon owe me. So I've gone to the hotel. So I still don't know to this day, and I know we want to talk about Kevin Keegan later, but Kevin met me in the hotel, and for him to come down and he just taps me on the shoulder and says, come and join a big club. I was already going because I knew the deal had been done. So I just left it to my agent to get on with what he needed to do, and I was happy to go to Newcastle anyway. But it was a nice blessing knowing that Joe said the deal's already been done. So we wasn't going to play any games. So they was happy, I was happy, and everything. So truly wasn't great up here. The only thing I did say to Joe when he got the job up here, and I was still in England at the time, phone me up. You know, come and let me go and have lunch with you, or come up, because I'll tell you what the club's like. Joe had a bit of a mentality where, you know, I'll fix it, I'll work it out. This is different up here. It's a different place. It's a different mentality, and he didn't really get into it. It was only when he was in trouble that he started throwing my name around by saying, well, ask Warren if I'm a good manager. Ask Warren if I'm this. I think, well, you should have asked me 18 months ago and I would have told you how to handle it all, because it is a unique place. But Wimbledon suited him to a T, suited us to a T, how we was, that togetherness. He was sort of father figure. Let us do what we've got to do, but he'd look after us on a Saturday. So I know it didn't work out well for Joe here, but it wasn't through lack of trying. And it's just sometimes, you know, Joe, the game has sort of passed him on a little bit, and things have changed, and players have changed, agents have changed, and things like that. But deep down in his heart, he would have been devastated if it didn't work out for him here. But at Wimbledon, we had a lot of fun.
Certainly a good guy, joking there. I've spent many time with him, and Vinny, as you know, well, the move to Newcastle. You said it come as a surprise. What was your talks like when you met KK?
Well, as I said, I'd spoken to Arsenal, David Dean. They was waiting for a manager, and I was a
How much them offering?
Not as much as Newcastle. But it wasn't that. It wasn't. They said that they was waiting for a coach, which was Arsene Wenger, but they wasn't sure when it was coming. I'd actually 2 months before was on the motorway going up to Blackburn with Kenny Dalglish to go and sign for them, just at the season after they won the Premier League. And then I got the phone call, no, it's not on, you're driving back down. So I spoke to Celtic, spoke to Everton, Sheffield Wednesday, or should I say my agent had, and I was waiting until the end of the year, just got into the England set-up with Terry Venables and started to then, you know, that gives you a little bit more of an outlook of what it's like playing for a big club, representing your country is obviously your biggest honour. And then, as I said, for Kevin to, on that Sunday or Monday, to come down to meet me in a hotel in London when he knows he's got an important game, because Newcastle was still going for Europe. Him and Terry McDermott drove down, met me in the hotel in Knightsbridge in London and said, come and join a big club. And me and Les Ferdinand was really good friends with England, and he was at QPR, I was at Wimbledon, 2 unfashionable clubs, you know, not big clubs, but clubs where, and like, where are you going? You know, I've spoken to these, and it seemed like wherever I'd spoken to, he'd spoken to as well. And I said, the next England club, I said, I've agreed with Newcastle, I'm going there. That's, you know, just to have that time with Kevin Keegan, and just for him to do that. And I'll tell you, it was really good, Joe, as well. I must bring this up. Barry Venison, do you remember Barry Venison played with Newcastle? He was in the England set-up towards later on in his career. You know, had a fabulous career with that lot down the road and more at Liverpool. And he used to pull me at the England centres when we was at the training ground and said, I know you've been linked with Newcastle a few times, and you know, go up there. What Kevin's trying to do, and Sir John Hall as well is magnificent. They love you up there as long as you give everything you've got. So Barry Venison was sort of selling me the club that he didn't need to sell, but knowing that I was probably going to take his spot and move on from there. But Barry was great as well, speaking to him. Obviously Rob Lee and Peter Beardsley was in England, set up Steve Howie as well. And I always, funny thing, Joe, in life, on the February, I was doing a cool down at St James's Park. Wimbledon had played there, and there was no one in the stadium, 36,000 people at that time. And I was having a cool down with Robbie on the pitch. I said, we being Wimbledon, lost to Newcastle 1-0. I said, imagine playing for this club up here. Imagine being involved in this club. It was, great. And then 4 months later, I'm speaking to Kevin Keegan. In between that, I'd spoken to Arthur Cox just about football and about the club. Spoken to Barry Venison, had a word with Peter Beardsley, who I think is the best player to ever wear a black and white shirt. So for him to be around. And I know it's a no-brainer, when something feels right. Did I ever think I was going to be here 7-8 years? I didn't know. I knew that I was leaving. Twice you're not good enough, you're not going to make it. Playing lower league football, non-league football, playing for the fucking crazy game. If you can survive that, you can survive anything. And then coming to a club like that was brilliant. So it was magnificent. It was, myself, and then 2 days later, Les signed. 4 or 5 days later, David Ginola signed. Look at the women. David, mind you, me and Les was like that. It was in the Gosford Park. I've not really seen. So we're having breakfast. David has signed. Shaka Hislop, I'll be wrong in saying as well. Shaka just signed. So me and Les, who's a good-looking fella and looks exactly the same as he did 25 years ago. So we're having breakfast. All of a sudden, in the background of silhouette, there's like a white linen shirt, some beads, and fucking God is out there. Adonis is standing. So I went, is that him? Les went, no, it can't be. So I think it is. And he's come over, hey, Warren, Les, how are you? We're like, oh, he's so good looking. But what a player as well. So David's come in and, obviously not, obviously. But, to play, all of a sudden you've gone from, bless them, the crazy gang, Vinny, I can rip your head off and everything else to, hello, how are you? I was like, oh, very well, thank you very much. Great times, exciting times. The city was vibrant, the nightlife, the businesses was great. Kevin and Sir John have created a juggernaut of a momentum and as a football club. David Batty comes, Tina Espria comes. It's tailor-made for success, and unfortunately we failed, and that's why it's so disappointing, not for us, but for the city and for the people. But we had a good go, we tried. It was a great football club to be involved with. The fans, the shirts, the entertainers. It's special, even now I see people like Philippe Albert that I've not seen for years in a stadium in Germany, and it's like we was there, yesterday with each other. So we apologise, but we give it a good go. But exciting times with Newcastle at that time.
So you brought it up, I wasn't going to, but I've asked a few of the lads, and
they didn't say it was my fault, did they?
Funny enough, this is his chance to fucking put the record straight. Lee Clark said, no. What do you think went wrong, Walt? 12 points clear. What would you put your finger on?
Well, hindsight's a great thing. And talking about the great Peter Beardsley and Les, I just felt we played Manchester United here, and we were sensational the first 45 minutes. Schmeichel's making save after save, hitting the crossbar. We go in at half time expecting, calm, where we're going to go. Kevin was so buoyant and he was such a frenzy. Do it again, show them. He wanted to wipe the floor with them to do it. And it's sod's law, we got caught with a sucker punch. We're going forward, they go round, Phil Neville chips it in, Cantona hits the ground, Bobbly, and they beat 1-0. So on that day, Joe, we couldn't get it back. We got beat at Nottingham Forest 1-0. Ian Wine smashed one in from 35 yards. We're doing his Stuart Pearce's testimonial at the end of the season. Ian Wine smacked one in the corner. I think, well, we ain't going to turn up for your testimonial. And it just felt like the harder we tried, and Kevin, I love him, and we'll never have a bad word to say about him, but started to change things around. Started to left Lee Clark out, who for me was brilliant in that season, but changed it around, pulled Rob over to the right. Keith got left out. He wanted to try and get Aspria in the team, and it wasn't Tino's fault, but he's trying to figure out to have 5 or 6 offensive players and left us going. And sport is a lot about momentum. They was grinding out 1-0, playing Southampton, winning 1-0, playing another team, winning 1-0, Schmeichel making saves, Cantona getting a goal. Our record defensively was second to them. If you look at the stats, and it was just that we'd lost momentum, then confidence goes, and because we was the entertainers, if such, we was playing Sunday afternoon and Monday, which I know games are games, but they play Saturday, they win 1-0. Now everything's on us now. Everyone's watching us. We was everybody's second favourite team. Everyone was desperate to win it. And we only had one person that had experience of doing that, and that was Peter. And Peter is not a Stuart Pearce or a Tony Adams, like captain leader. So we had a meeting, it wasn't really a meeting, we was in the shower and then we was in the change room afterwards, and I said to Peter and Les, do you think we could be a bit more defensive minded? Maybe just grind out results, maybe. He went, KK won't have it. He said, we're going to win it his way or the highway, and he won't allow that for the public. He wouldn't change it for anything. So if we're going to go and win it, you're going to do it KK's way. So, as I said, Joe, hindsight's a great thing. I think your second half, if we would have said, like, we ain't losing. You know what it's like. Go out there. If we can get a goal, great. If not, we'll see it out 45 minutes. We've showed them how good we are, but we'll still be 9 points clear. But they got to 6. Then we have another game, beating Nottingham Forest. Then it's down to 3. And then by that time, we couldn't get any momentum going. I think the last 6 or 7 games was hard. And there's not a day goes by that I don't think about it. And I think I've said it to you before, Steve, when we've done that podcast and things. It wasn't necessarily about having a medal here and I can sit down and say, I'm a Premier League winner. the city deserved it. That's why I was so happy when we won the cup and seeing all the celebrations. It's more to say, like, Blackburn can say it, Leicester can say it, Liverpool had to wait a while, they could say it, and obviously United, Chelsea and Arsenal. But we should have been up there for the city, for the people to have had it, because that's really why we played for Newcastle. It was about the fans, it was about KK, it was about trying to do it for them. So it's tough every morning to wake up, and I get people like you reminding me, which is fine, which is part and parcel of it, but it still sticks with me now.
I've got to say, ladies and gentlemen, that's the best I've heard it described. And I'm asked a load of players. That was fucking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That's right, Rob. That was brilliant. We're getting some good things. I know, we're getting to feel better now. When did some of your memorable games? Tell us one of your best games that you had.
I think your first one, Joe, against Coventry at home, the whole stadium was black and white, and the excitement seeing, a family. I remember me and Les was on the bus coming in, and there's a family there, and the kids have all got the black and white on. So beating them and Les scoring was a bit of a sigh of relief, because we're off and running now. We played pre-season, did pretty well in pre-season. Les has got his goal, we've beaten them, now we're off and running. The Barcelona game, when you play in Champions League for the first time and you get Barcelona, with all due respect, if we would have got to our first home game at home in the Champions League and you're getting Porto, still a big team, but it's not Barcelona with Louis van Gaal, Luis Enrique was playing, Rivaldo was playing, Figo was playing, he's somewhere in here, but it was... But then I realised the game was 90 minutes, not 60 minutes. We was fucking flying at the end. We was hanging on by our fingernails. Shay's having to make save after save. But that one was special. I know Tino, and rightly so, gets a lot of credit because he was brilliant. But Keith Gillespie in that game was on fire. And you talk about tactics. I know Kenny Dalglish doesn't really get the importance he deserves because he was very close as a manager, protect us. He needed to be a bit more like Kevin Keegan, like throw the responsibility on the players. But Joe was very much about protecting us. But he had a game plan. He said, look, the Dutch, how they are with Louis van Gaal being how confident and slightly arrogant they are. The Dutch are like that. I know I've got a lot of friends that are like that, the Dutch that want to show how good they are in total football. He said they're going to leave their two centre-halves and they're going to be space where Sergi will push on. And I think there was a Dutch player that pushed on as well. There'll be space there. Get it in the space to Keith, or give it to Keith and leave him one-on-one. He'll terrorise them. Because they keep squeezing in and we could play it. And it worked a treat. We just got it out to Keith. Rob Lee kept picking it out. I kept rolling it to his feet. I didn't overlap. I wasn't going to try and chase him because he was quicker than me. And he went in and obviously crossed the goal. And some of the crosses was excellent. So that was a special night, Joe, when we walk into the stadium, the first time you see all the Champions League signs, and then they're doing a dummy run for the music. That sort of, and then you look at the sign across and it's Barcelona, so that was special. But there's one game in particular, and for some reason, well, I do know the reason. We played Nottingham Forest, the last game of the season before that Barcelona game, and we needed to win by 2 or 3 goals to have any realistic chance to get to the second spot, because it's not 4 now, where everybody fucking gets in. It used to be just 1 or 2. Now everyone can have a game at Champions League. So we beat Nottingham Forest 5-0. I had a pretty good game where I make 3 assists and Tino's on fire, Les gets a couple of goals and we end up winning the game 5-0. Also now we're walking around, we start hearing more cheers. So I said, what's going on there? Oh, we've just heard the Smoggies have been relegated, they've gone down. Oh, that's a result, that's good. Then there was a massive roar. The old Mackhams have gone as well, so we're going Champions League. They're back in Championship, get down there. So that was an eventful night in the big market, should I say. So that was a good time. So that one in particular, I was lucky enough to play 220 times for the club. And that was one that stuck out because it meant so much for everybody. And we sort of set out that season to try and achieve it. And funny, like I said, being a bit more conservative, Kenny Dalglish was like that. We went to Arsenal, we won 1-0. We went somewhere, won 1-0, and we sort of chipped away and got ourselves into that position. And then at home against Forest, we ended up beating them 5-0, and we're going to Champions League football. So, great memories, Joe. You know what it's like to play for that club and to be around it was special.
I just think it's brilliant. He said, I'm going to pull you up on it, well, actually, he said about the medal. It's not about the medal. In a lot of people, a lot of fans, the entertainers team, they didn't need medals, mate, because they were the best side that a lot of people had seen. So you should be all very, very proud of the being a part of that. Excellent, unbelievable. So, we're getting on about personalities. I know him quite well, you know him quite well. Show me the signs for the club. What do Les think?
Les?
Number 9 shirt.
Oh, when that happened. So,
that little thing.
Yeah. So Les had obviously come in, and another good story with Kevin Keegan. You talk about man management. You know, Les Ferdinand, before he came to Newcastle, they did like a check, and they had something like 79% of his games he didn't finish the 90 minutes. Jerry Francis was the manager. Les had come off like the last 10 minutes, last 8 minutes, whatever. So Kevin said to me, and to Terry Mack, we was talking, I said, like, because I was sort of the new player coming in and knew what Les was like. I was Les's friend, being around. He said, like, we're going to try this out with Les Ferdinand. See if it works. I said, what is it? He said, 80 minutes, we ain't going to look at him. So if he says anything to you to tell, because I'm a right back, I'd tell the gaffer, Les said his hamstring's tight, I ain't going to take any notice. So this goes on. So we're flying, the first couple of games going, all of a sudden, Les, gaffer, I'm looking now, because I'm part of this idea that Kevin Keegan's got. Kevin's doing his laces up or something like that. We're playing a game. He's doing, tell the gaffer that my back's a bit tight and I need to come off. So I'm looking, Terry's going, nah, it ain't happening. Les went that whole season, 25 goals, played virtually every minute of every game, and talk about man management. So he was brilliant. So he's number 9. He was so proud to be the number 9, because he understood what it meant to play for the club and to be a number 9. So we go now on holiday together, because we was close. We're away on holiday. So we're coming down for breakfast. He said, I just had a phone call. We're signing Alan Shearer. So, wow, bloody hell. 15 million for Alan Shearer. At the time, was a phenomenal amount of money, and it was a record. But we're getting Alan Shearer. So what a story that is. I said, that's fantastic. He went, no, that's not it. He said, he obviously wants a number 9 shirt. So I said, what are you going to do about that? He said, I'm going to give it to him. He said, Alan Shearer, he's a Geordie, I get it, I understand. He said, but I like number 10. So number 10 was Lee Clark. Yeah, it was Lee Clark. And Lee, I love him, he's the most patriotic Geordie you're ever going to meet. Would die for this football club. And but he didn't want to go down from number 10, because he was number 10 in the championship. He'd been with Andy Cole wearing number 9 and number 10. He was the Newcastle number 10. So now Leslie said, well, I don't want to upset him, but Kevin went, leave it with me. So Kevin, again, like myself, being as brave as a lion, sent to Terry Mack, go and tell Clark he's wearing number 20. Terry Mack said, what? So he's gone over to Clarkey, took it like a man. I think he smashed the hotel room up afterwards. It'd gone, but Les he got it, Joe, because he understood about Allon wanted it, the Milburn, Warjackie, everything else that goes with it. So he got it. And that tells me a lot about Les. I think his biggest regret, if I'm being honest, it wasn't the number 9 shirt. It was when he left, when Dalglish said to him, you're not going to play every week. Again, we was on holiday again. He said, Kenny said, they're bringing in a player called John Dale Thomason, young prospect from Holland. You ain't going to play every week. He's going to have Allon with John Dale Thomason just behind him, and that's how we're going to go. I said, Les, you've just scored 50 goals in 2 seasons. Use 2 up front. That iconic picture of Les and Allon when they scored against Man United 5. Them 2 up front, Joe, I know you was a good player up front yourself, but them 2 would terrorise people, the way that it was going out there. But Les's pride was hurt a little bit by Kenny saying, you're not going to play every game. I said, you'll play every game. Jerry Francis at that time had gone to Tottenham, was good friends with Les. We'll take you back down to London. We want you to go. But I still think today Les would have loved to have stayed, because I said there's no way the public would let Kenny Dalglish leave you on the bench for John Dale Thomason. Then lo and behold, Les goes. 3 days later, we go to Goodison Park. Allon breaks his ankle. We're left with John Dale Thomason and Tyne to be as a strike force going on. So you've gone from them 2 to now, listen, good players, but they ain't in that level. They're not in that level of players. But Les, as I said, Sir Les was a lovely, lovely man, great player. And, only had 2 seasons up here, but the fans love him. And, still do. And Just for the record, the story is true. He is the biggest. I shared 2 years in the room. Fucking hell.
I've only got one story on that one, and it was when I was playing for Chelsea, and we were playing Loftus Road, and the one had gone off in the away dressing room, and we had a 2-2 draw, and I was getting a flight to come back home from Heathrow, so I needed a wash, so I knocked on their door and went in, and I said to the manager, I said, can I use the shower? I said, I've got to get away. He says, go on, get yourself away in. And all of a sudden, I'm faced with this big black lad coming towards us. And it was Les. And you know when you get your towel there? And all of a sudden, and it was like, ah. And I went, fucking hell. And he says, yours shrinks when it gets wet, doesn't it? What a true story, that. I missed the flight, I couldn't get over it. That's a great way to start anybody that wants a question. If you just put your hand up and I'll come to you and we'll do it orderly. Steve Hasty, thank you very much. First question.
I
was going to say stand up, Steve.
I am standing up.
You are standing up.
One of the things that always baffled me was after the Leeds game when Keegan had his meltdown, nobody's ever, as far as I'm aware, asked any of the players what their reaction was, either on the bus on the way home or whatever, to the meltdown, because the press made it out it was a meltdown, but I remember there was 15 or 16 lads in our living room who all cheered when he did it. We all went, get in, he's telling the truth. What was the reaction on the bus?
And the reason that he did do that speech is that, again, we was playing, Stuart Pearce at the end of the season was having a testimonial. So Sir Alex was starting to play the mind games. Yeah. And then we had to go to Nottingham Forest, the city, go out and play. And Sir Alex had come out publicly about 2 weeks before that Leeds game and said, well, we know Nottingham Forest are not going to try against Newcastle because, Stuart Pearce's testimonial. So that was sitting on Kevin for 2 weeks. And we knew it got under his skin and he was waiting for the right time to do it. And so Alex had dropped it in. So we, at that time, they just started on the buses over in Sky. And we was the same as you. I said, it's coming. You could tell he was answering a couple of questions about Keith's goal, answering the question, this is coming. And then the same thing again, he'd come out, I would love it. And we went, get in there. Yeah. But unfortunately, we let him down as well. But yeah, we knew it was coming. But our response wasn't like, oh, he's got to him, it's what Sir Alex wanted and whatever. We was like, it's like a rally cry. We could go, but again, we didn't get there. But we knew it was coming, and we knew the reason why it was coming because he'd insulted us, he'd insulted Stuart Pearce, and he'd insulted Nottingham Forest players as well. I wish someone would have told fucking Ian White, and he smashed one in for 30. I got the shout from Steve Howe. He showed him inside. He fucking smashed it in the top corner.
Well, that was your biggest mistake, wasn't it? Getting the shout from Steve Howe.
Next question.
In terms of man management and tactically or anything like that, which manager made you feel
Sir Bobby.
Like on top of the world? Was it Sir Bobby Robson?
Yeah, Kevin Keegan was magnificent. As I said, like he'd always ask about your family. Oh, is everything all right? Do you need anything? And you're doing great, and this is brilliant. And when it was down, it was because he was so emotional. So if anything ever was down, like Stuart's singing, maybe we've lost the game, maybe we haven't got the player that he wanted. And even when he left the club, I'll talk about that a little bit later. When he left, it was so emotional that he was like. So Bobby Robson for me was phenomenal in every aspect of tactics, knowing the area, man management with players, good with the media, good with staff, good with senior players, good with young players. For me, I learned so much about Bobby Robson as a person, and we miss him. And this club, in my opinion, when the Brat Pack got hold of him, was out of order. They should have stuck by him and maybe asked him to go upstairs and be like head of football or whatever it may have been at that time, because he loved this club, he loved it, and just shows you how man management is. We played that famous game against Sunderland where we lost, which is, if you'd asked me in that moment that we lost the game 2-1, but we'd get Allon back and scoring 260 goals and we'd get St. Bobby.
Take the doors off it.
Yeah, that's another story as well. But Rude, being another brave man, was already on a fucking flight to Holland. So he's not as stupid as he looked. For that sexy football, he was already gone. But so Bobby, we had a meeting on the Thursday. Rude Hullett's gone. 6 o'clock in the morning, you've got Alan Shearer waiting at the door and Duncan Ferguson waiting to get hold of him at his office. So no wonder he left. I won't fancy my chances with them, to be honest with you. So then Bobby comes in on the Thursday, goes round, Shay Gibbon, nice to meet you. Alan Shearer, goes round. So Bobby Robson, oh, please know my name, please. And he, Bobby's quite famous and getting a few names mixed up. Warren Barton, I think, fuck it, yeah, he knows me. That's great. that's one step in the right direction. So we're having a talk, very much shirt and tie. As I said, love the football club. You could just tell in his eyes he was so happy. He was hung. I wish we would have got him after Barcelona, after KK left, because I think things would have been a lot different. But so Bobby being Bobby and Alan being Alan, he said, Alan, why do you keep coming short for the ball? Why, watch games, why do you keep coming short? Alan, being as diplomatic as always, said, well, that fucking idiot tells me to keep coming for the ball. So Bobby went, turn around and face the goal and score goals. We play Sheffield Wednesday out here, the next game, we win 8-0, he gets 5 goals. Now a quick story about that as well. Remember a guy called Paul Robinson? He was a local boy.
He's asking after you, by the way.
Oh, is he? Good man. He's a great kid. But stupid, but a great kid. So he comes on, he actually started for Duncan and Alan in the Derby game, but then he got dropped to the bench. Bobby being Bobby is quite tactically astute, put Alan in. Alan's already scored 4 goals. Paul comes on, gets a penalty, goes down, runs and gets the ball. Says to Alan, Alan just takes the ball and says to Alan, oh, my family's here, can I take it? So Alan looks at him like this, straight now and went, fuck off. My family's here, fuck off. Puts the ball down, smashes it in, 5 goals, we're off and running. So Bobby, for me, was magnificent, the way he conducted himself on and off the field, but also ruthless. Myself and Rob Lee, I was 33, Rob was 35, but maybe even 36. We'd done our service to the club. He'd said, right, playing for Newcastle every single week is hard. So people like Aaron Hughes would come in the club, he'd been left back, Andy Griffin had come in, 21, 22. We was playing, there was talk about getting Jermaine Gines, Kieran Dyer playing every week, obviously Craig Bellamy as well. Bobby being Bobby, and I was his vice captain, and he loved me in the sense of doing things in the community, make sure we go here, so we worked really, really well together. As I said, a great man. He just pulled me in November and said, your contract's up, we're not going to sign you, but we want you to stay on the staff. Like Joe, you retired a long time. I said, I'm 33 years of age, Gaff, I want to play. He said, no, it's time to move on. You've done your bit. You've done the same thing with Rob a couple of weeks later. Pulled him in the office. At least it was face to face, but that's what Bobby was like, And he was right. I'd done my bit for the club. I'd given everything I'd got for the club, and there was nothing more to give. And he could just sense it was the right time to say, off you go, Rob Lee, off you go. If you want to stay, we'll put you in the academy. You can work as a coach there, but we're moving on. And lo and behold, 6 months later, they're in the Champions League. So he just knew. He knew people. He knew the club. He knew the area. So I just think he was the best coach I've ever been involved with. And I was lucky with people like Terry Venables and, as I said, the other coaches as well. But for me, he just had it all. Even when it was down. And, like I said about Kenny Dalglish, and Stephen knows this because we was down in London, we played Coventry. We were supposed to be flying off to have a week in La Manga after that. We played Charlton at home at the Dell on a Sunday night. And it was awful game. They beat us. He come in, he give us the whole bullet about how bad we are. Went on TV and said, unlike Dalglish, where he would have protected us and said, oh, the referee was this, you didn't see that. He's give it to us on TV. And then he said, oh, by the way, put your fucking suitcases back. We're going back up north. You ain't going away. And that's how he reacted, because he said he wasn't going to let people down. He wasn't going to make out that, another game's come along. So, I mean, it was so special. As I said, the club should, have kept him on afterwards. But as I said, a little bit of the brat pack chipped it away. And unfortunately, people like Alan and Speedo, God rest his soul, let it sort of simmer along. And, unfortunately, he left the club.
Yes, sir.
2 parts to this question, Warren, and answer candidly is what happens at the talking stays at the talking.
It wasn't me.
Do you think, the first part is, do you think Gary Neville got too many caps for England at right back? And the second part is, that period, sort of mid-90s to early 2000s, do you think England were a little bit reluctant, maybe even a little bit scared, to pick defenders that had a bit of attacking flair about them? Defenders like Warren Barton, for instance.
Two great questions.
Everybody in this room will agree you were worth a lot more than 3 caps.
Yeah.
That's well, one, it's very kind of that. Listen, Gary Neville's a top-class player. I mean, he's won numerous trophies and everything else. He thinks he's always fucking right. That's the only one with Gary. Everything he says, he thinks he's right. He was like that when he played at the PFA. We're in like meetings at the PFA. We've got to do it like this. Fuck off, there's other ways of doing it. So, but he's always been like that. Gary's always, listen, he had a great relationship with David Beckham as well, the way that they played together as well. And, you know, so, yes, that's for other people to say. I think I was worthy of getting in more squads. You know, with Glenn Hoddle when he took over, even with KK when he came along, although I was a little bit older in my career. But listen, Gary's a top-class player. You don't win what you win with him, but he did have a good relationship with David Beckham, who was really close with Sven Goran Eriksson. So it was difficult, but yeah, I felt like I could compete. But then you had like people like Glenn Johnson coming along, another younger player. You know, at my time when I was trying to get in the England setup, we'll talk about this. Paul Parker was there, Rob Jones was there, Lee Dixon was there, Gary Neville was just breaking through, David Bardsley was a good player at Queen's Park Rangers, Richard Hedgill was breaking in at Man City. So there was like 5 or 6 right backs at the time to try and get in. When Gary did it, there was him and then Glenn and and myself, and that was maybe it. But yeah, I feel like I could have maybe played more caps, but you know what, it's a nice way of saying my last England cap, I played at Wembley, against Brazil, and against the real Ronaldo. So I'd take that. If someone would have told me at 13 you're too small, and say, well, your last England cap was at Wembley against Brazil and the rest of it, I'd take that.
Wait,
CC Top.
I've got a fair few people from the Crazy Gang before, and no one's ever slagged Dennis Wise off. So feel free to be the first.
I wasn't with Dennis, but I will tell you a story about Dennis. When I went to America in 08, I phoned him up and said, look, I'm going to America to maybe be a scout for you. If you want to go over there, I'm doing some work with LA Galaxy, look at some players over there. He went, no, Wally, you're okay. We've got someone over there. So I'm like, okay, who is it? He went, oh, it's a friend of mine in Dallas. So I said, you're taking a friend who had not played at Newcastle, the club, to do scouting. He went, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So I was like, okay, fine. But yeah, not had too much connection with Wise. You know what Dennis is like as well. He could have a fight in the telephone box. So
Dennis's nickname's The Rat. Says everything, but I'm not being funny. Dennis is one of the most loveliest people in the world. He'd do anything for you. You wouldn't know he's got a foundation himself that he started in 1990 for the Great Ormond Street Hospital, where one of his children was, and he's raised money ever since for that. And in fact, I was fucking joint best man at his wedding, and he took us to Leeds United when I was really fucked after being, the death of my mother, put it that way. And he took us to Leeds United on the staff to keep us involved. And we're going on Leeds United on the staff, that put us off fucking football forever. Unbelievable, by the way. But, you know, he's not everybody's cup of tea then. But at the same time, you know, it's like Vinny. Everybody says about Vinny, Vinny Jones is this, is that, and the other. If I told you in 1990, when he got me up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to Hemel Hempstead Hospital with a car full of presents to hand deliver the presents to the kids on the children's ward, people wouldn't say that at Vinnie Jones, and people wouldn't see him carrying his wife, who was the longest surviving heart transplant person in the country, carrying it into hospital without having an ambulance and everything. In the last years of her life, and obviously she passed away, and that was a terrible thing with Vin, but at the same time, another one that's got a heart of gold, that the persona on the football pitch is you're an absolute wanker. But trust me, they are people at the end of the day. They're not these personalities of footballer that have got a heart, especially them too, just for you.
Yeah, I have to echo that as well. As I say, I don't know Wisey as well as you do, but people like Vinny. The only one probably who you think's a bit of a prick is Robbie Savage. It's probably true. There's always one.
He'd have been better coming on his fucking Lily Savage. What a prick he is, by the way. Not Lily Savage. Stevewraith.
Joe, I'm going to ask Warren a question about the two full-backs now. What do you make of Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall?
I think they're sensational. I think they're, particularly Tino, that game in the cup final. I was speaking to Kieran Trippier, funny enough, lucky enough, the other night on Wednesday. We was talking, and he says he's got everything. I think Kieran is a hell of a player as well. I think he's a phenomenal player, and they will love him up here forever because he was the first one to come, the new one to come across, and what a player he is, and what a person. You talk about people as well. You maybe don't get to know the players now, but Kieran Trippier is one of the nicest person I've ever met in the game, and I've been lucky to be around good people, a lot of good people, and he's one of them. But Tino, Steve, he's the real deal. I think for England, him and Hall. I don't think Hall is as a finished article as Tino yet, because I think Tino's great going forward. I mean, that game in the cup final against Mo Salah, where not only did he defend really well, and also Dan Burns helped him out because they love hitting him on the diagonal, but Tino getting forward. Normally you think, well, I better just look after Mo Salah. I'm going to do a job on Mo Salah as a fullback. He went forward and caused them problems because Salah wasn't going to run back. So I think he's the real deal. I think he's the future for England as a right back or a left back. But I think Hall could just work a little bit on the finishing article for a delivery. He's a little bit more composure in the final third, but I think he's got a great future. I think for the next 10 years, we could have two wonderful fullbacks.
Is Hall a better left back or right back? Livramento, sorry.
That's another good question as well, Steve. I would think he's a better right back.
Right back.
I just go from my point. When I play left back, you do check back, and he did that a few times in some of the games that I've seen. It's like sometimes just swing your left foot, put it in, but he will go check back and then come back on his right foot. But I mean, what is he, 21, 22? But I think he's a better right back than left back. But if he does decide to swing that left foot sometimes, because you do, if I was playing against him and he's left back, I know he's going to chop back. I know he's going to go back. But if you just do it 2 or 3 times, go around me, now you've got me on toast. I don't know whether we're going outside or inside. So I think he's, but I think he's I spoke to Eddie about him as well. That was one of the questions. So how comes you went with Tino again rather than Kieran? Because I'm thinking I'd rather go with experience in the cup final, let Trippier look after him, and then get Livramento. He said no. I knew that he'd be able to go back with him because he's quick, and also I know it causes problems going the other way. So that's why he's the manager, Stephen. I'm sitting
in any way trust.
It is unusual though to have a fullback who is 2-footed. Most of the lads who play fullback are like right.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, he could just, even if he just swung it in there a few times with his left foot and to do it, but he's predominantly right footed as I was, but I could always swing one in with my left. So maybe that's an area, but like Steve, I said to Steve, I think he's a better right back because he just gets there and he gets it with little gives and go, and the energy that he shows. He's and he's a good kid as well, apparently.
Back. Get a couple of questions from the back because the front are getting exhausted. Who's got a question? Yes, sir. By the way.
Inverted wingers or traditional wingers, past and present, what's your preference?
Inverted wingers or outverted wingers? I think I'd go with, talking about both foot. Let's have David Ginola. He could go on the left, he could go on the right. So I think when you look at Real Madrid, when they had Bale, Ronaldo, that's when it really kicked in a little bit, that it comes inside. For me, I would like someone who's left-footed who would come in and leave the space for me to run into, because I was a fullback that liked pushing in. I was lucky enough with Raw Fox. Little Foxy would get on and run at people and he would slip me in. Keith I could never catch, so it's quite easy. Me and Keith had a really simple relationship. I'll put it in the space, I'll give it the feet and let him go. Nobby, who I love playing with, Nobby Solano, would make me run again 4 times past him before he give it to me. And then on the 5th time, he might give it to me or he might play it in, but another top-class player. But me personally, I would want an inverted winger that could come in to leave me the space going forward. But you might have to make 3 or 4 of them runs to get it.
News just in on Nobby, by the way. He rang us this week. They played Syria in the loss, but his last game they played Afghanistan, and I said, "What's the score?" He said, "Mr. 4-0." And well, the word guaranteed to get some fucking shots on target, wasn't it? What the fucking? He's asked us to go to Pakistan. I'm going. Right, they drinking in Pakistan. Yes, at the back.
You think Eddie Howe's took as far as he can go?
No. I think we have to still be. Sometimes, well, one is won a first trophy in 7 years, so I think that gives him a little bit of time. I think it's easier to, like we did, get to there. The hardest thing is to go there, and that's the next step for Eddie. I think he's a phenomenal coach. Even when he left Bournemouth, he was really impressed me at Bournemouth. But what impressed me even more, once he left Bournemouth, whether it was sack or resign or however it was, I think he left the club. He didn't just sit in the garden and wait for a phone call and tell everybody on TV how good he is. He went and got an education, furthered his education, went out to Spain, went out to Germany, him and Jason, and that speaks volumes as a person. And the reason I say as well is that, like Bobby, like Kevin Keegan, he gets this football club. The first day, he got in at 6, he left at 11 o'clock at night, and there was still 3 fans. It was on Sky. I was watching it, and I'm in California. And the car stopped, he got out and he signed the autographs, and then he could have quite easily made out he was on the phone, looking out the window, whatever. There's a lot of managers I know that would have kept going. He didn't, he started, and from that point, he gets it. He's so dedicated to this football club, he's so lucky, and he said that, I'm lucky to be manager of this football club. And Bobby said that, like, I'm lucky to get this job. There's thousands of people that would have loved that, so I think there's so much more. Yes, we need reinforcements. We lost Isaac on that thing where we've had to change our style of football a little bit with the big German coming in. Our big signing's not even being fit. But I think any good coach, he's made Joe Linton better from when he first came in. Murphy as well, he's made him better. So not only has he brought in top players, Tonali being one, Bruno being another, Big Dan Burns, the list goes on and on. He's actually made players that was already here under other managers better players. And you can obviously hear I'm a big fan of him because he gets it. He gets it. But the next challenge is going to be, winning games home and away. Champions League is difficult. You play a game on a Saturday, then you play a Barcelona game, then you play again. But like I said to him the other day, that's what we wanted. We know it's hard, but that's what you want to be, competing and challenging. But I've got a lot of time for him and a lot of respect for him. So I think as long as the club keep pushing it in the right direction, then I think we'll be there or thereabouts. So listen, 4 years ago, we was doing a lap of honour, beating Burnley 1-0, saying that was great. Now all of a sudden we're umming and ahhing. Look where we are in the Champions League. Look what we're doing.
Can I just ask you asked the question, what do you think? You asked the question, what do you think? It's a great question.
As much as I like Eddie, lovely man, like Bobby Robson and that, lovely personality, everything about him. But I don't think he can take it to the next level.
It's all about opinions, lads and lasses. It's all about opinions.
Yep, it is.
Do you think Eddie could be ruthless now? I think he's like Trippier now. What I told you it was time to go. I think Trippier, you already go to the end of the season. I think you need to get somebody in younger, like Dan Burn. Yes, he's been a good servant, but you get out and he's not getting younger. So we need to get new blood.
No, I do think he's understood that now. 4 years he's been in the job. 4 years, 2 cup finals, 2 years in the Champions League, won a trophy in the first 70 years. But yeah, I do think he knows now, because there was a time probably 18 months ago, 2 years, where he kept riding the same players. He's very loyal to his players.
Yeah, I think he's too loyal.
But I do now think he's obviously grown into this job now as well. He's come from Bournemouth. All of a sudden, understanding what it is to manage Newcastle United is not easy. It's not easy that you drive out your house and someone's got an opinion. Someone's telling you this. So it's not like in Bournemouth or in London where you can disappear and get on with it. He holds up, and the staff that he's got and stuff like that. Yeah, I think he's growing into this job, and he's going to take this club forward. And I don't think at the moment there's any better person to do that. And that's my opinion.
Great.
I first became aware of you careering down our right wing, cutting in and scoring a goal. Is that the most important goal you've ever scored?
You have to remember which one it was, because quite a few actually.
Well, you scored against us.
Yes.
Yeah. You cut down that right wing.
Yeah.
So you cut in and
Yeah.
put the ball in there.
Yeah, that game.
That goal was.
Yeah, I think when Kevin Keegan saw me, I was playing for Wimbledon and I played well in that game and got a goal, and then I played against Sheffield Wednesday. So I think there's certain moments in your career which identify. Mike, one of the big turning points for me, and Stephen knows this, and Joe, it wasn't always roses with me here. I had a couple of months where it was very, very difficult. I wasn't playing well, and the fans was, voicing their opinion, which they've got every right to do. When people say, "Oh, fans are having a go at you," well, that's what they pay their money. They're entitled to have an opinion. But I played against Crystal Palace here in the cup, and someone got sent off. I think it was Shay maybe, or someone got sent off, and I was playing left back. And it was one of them games, Joe, when you think, I'm just going to go for it. So I had a really good game, crossing balls, we scored, we get into the next round of the cup, actually got to the cup final with that. And then they had the whole stadium singing my name was quite a special moment for me, personally, to know that I've had adversity, to know that the chips was down, but I didn't shirk away from it. It was my upbringing, how I was at home in East London, and then playing non-league, and then playing for the Crazy Gang. You don't walk away from responsibility, you thrive on it and you go forward. Then to have that, so that was a big moment. Yeah, so certain goals, certain performances gives you the opportunity to come back and enjoy the game that you love and play it at the highest level. So certain moments.
Yeah, go on.
Would you say playing in non-league really helps your development?
I wouldn't recommend it for the faint-hearted. When you walk into a changing room, you've got a builder, electrician, and at the time we're earning like 20 quid a week, and if we win the game, we get an extra £5, and that can make it. And you make a cock up, you ain't doing it next week. And you know what I love as well? In America, I've been there 17 years, and the Americans say, "Oh, where do I want to go? I want to see Chelsea play. I want to go to Old Trafford. I want to see Anfield. I want to see Liverpool." I said, get yourself to a non-league club, a lower league club. That's proper football. Go there with the fans and the way it is, because it's so unique, it's so different, and it's such a good learning curve. But also, if you can live down there, like I've said to my son, it's easier to train at Inter Miami, playing the under-21s. Doesn't really matter if you win or lose. You lose at Darlow, you better not go. They lost 6-0 in the FACup against Telford. They couldn't go out. They got hammered. But he'd never experienced anything. It's character building. And that's why I wasn't going to walk away from 52,000 people. It would have been easy to say, you know what, I'm going back down to London. Charlton want to sign me. West Ham, actually, Glenn Roders phoned up. He wants to sign me. But you didn't. I wanted to stay here, so it's character building.
Did you come across Messi when you were in Miami?
He was walking around, yeah. I mean, he runs the place. Him and his dad, they run the place. But he was there. A quick story about my son. And I said, look, great education. You're playing against Suarez, playing Busquets, Jordi Alba. And they was doing a little game with Messi. He went, yeah, I was with Messi the other day. And I had him, Dad. I had him. And he went, I knew he was going to go on his left foot. They're not allowed to attack him. He said, he's think to go left foot, got to go left foot, swerving. And then I've got him. He said, the keeper's 6'4". He said, but I've gone. And then I sort of went, and as soon as I did that, stopped, he's bent one round me in the top corner, 6'5", and he went, I don't know how he did it. And then the coach went to one of them, to Tyne, get closer, stop him doing it. He was like, you fucking stop him doing it.
So you played obviously in St James's Park a lot and been around the world, playing in different stadiums. But obviously the controversy in the club at the minute, I want to build a new, or potentially build a new stadium. Do you think that's the right way?
Half of me says, no, I want to stay here. I think St James, a quick story, when I was in America and it got changed to that other stupid name, my boss, I nearly got the sack. He went, stop calling it St James's Park, it's the Sports Direct Arena. I went, no, it ain't. It's St James's Park. So when my boss was he went, call it that. I went, it's not. It's St James's Park. For financial, I mean, the other thing, you look at Tottenham, if the land where they're talking about is within there, but it's got to be within the city, because I always think you come off the A1, you come onto the bridge and you see it. It's the first thing you see. Coming on the train, you see it. You come up the into the station, you see it. So for me, it would be keep the same site. Obviously, that's going to be difficult to do that. But you look at what Tottenham have done with their stadium. I think that's a magnificent stadium. The revenue that it brings in, the sponsorship that it brings in. If we want to compete and if we want to get to the promised land of winning a major trophy, i.e. the Premier League, the Champions League, which is realistic with the ownership and maybe with managers and different managers. Look how long it took Man City to do it. That's what we all want it to be done. Then we might have to bite a little bit back to say, yeah, we want that. If you're asking me now, no, stay there, try and build as much as you can. And we know on one of the sides we can't go too high, but if it meant us more revenue, I wouldn't be too worried about it. It's like when you have a girlfriend, and she's there and she goes, then once she's gone to 2, that ain't too bad. She has bad feet. I didn't really like her in 3 weeks. It's like, fuck it, I'm with her mate. So it'd be like the stadium, wouldn't it? You go to the stadium now and you go, oh, this is great. You go get these nice, comfortable seats. There's good food. You think, yeah, this is more like it. Sorry, ladies. Sorry. You know the same with the men as well. You get
Steve says the last couple, so yeah.
I got up to watch the cricket at 2 o'clock this morning, and I was on social media, and I saw something that shocked us. A team down south, beginning with W, over 35's team, where.
Do you fucking enter this question or what?
It ended in chaos. One of the players kicked this other guy in the face. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It was on.
You dreamt it, man.
How many fuckers were in at 2 o'clock this morning?
Do you think referees are will we have referees in the future, or will it be?
Well, if you kick someone in the face, you better have a referee. Remember John Hartson done that to one of the players, Burbridge, yeah.
Ask him what his thoughts on the test match instead. That's a better question.
Well, we done well, England. We come back, didn't we? We didn't look too good earlier on.
Young Steve here, Steve.
I just want to round it off with that. Obviously, you spend a lot of time in America. You're living there. The home nations, we've qualified. England. Stewie Penman's full of himself because Scotland have qualified. Anyone that watches the podcast knows. Obviously, the Republic got a chance. The Welsh are there. The Irish. It's fantastic. What's the buzz like in America about the World Cup? Because we hear all sorts.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you as well about the whole England situation.
You know to ask 5 questions, yeah?
Yeah. I was going to double it up. I was going to ask you about Bellingham and about whether or not he is the superstar that we should be building around, or whether Tuchel or is it Craig Hope is correct in saying he shouldn't be there. But let's just stick to what's the buzz like in America.
No, it's huge. I mean, Messi's obviously made a massive impact. David Beckham, going back when I was there, 07, 08, was huge with the MLS. You're going to have amongst the NFL, then you've got the NBA and obviously Major League Baseball as well. College is huge. But soccer reminds me of how the Premier League was in the early 90s. It's sort of a little bit quirky, a little bit trendy. It's a little bit different. We got away from the hooligans and the trouble that used to be at stadiums. Now it's coming. It's got that little momentum coming through. So it's ready for the World Cup. The president, obviously, whether you like him or not, but he's said about the sport and how it is. And Ronaldo was there. Yeah, it's getting bigger. It's going to be a great event. The problem is that you got Canada and Mexico, so you're going to be travelling all over. The time difference. But it's ready now. It's been building up. 94 was obviously when they last did the host, and England wasn't there. With all due respect, I think it's great Scotland are there. I think any tournament where you get the Jocks there, the Irish are there, I think it's great. Particularly, on the East Coast where you're going to have a lot of fans. I'm obviously delighted with Tuchel being there and the team. Harry Kane, for me at the moment, is the best number 9 in the world. And the way he played, I was lucky to be down there at Serbia. And he really stands out. He's a hell of a player. So we've got as good a chance as any, but America's ready. They love a show. They want to put a big show on. They'll be safe over there. They're going to make sure it's going to be totally different than what it was in Qatar, atmosphere-wise. And it's going to be fun. They're going to, as I said, there's going to be a lot of fun out there. It's just obviously the travel is where they're going to put everybody and things like that. So I'll be working on them games through Fox. And it'd be brilliant. It'd be brilliant out there. It'd be a great World Cup to be involved with. So yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Brilliant.
Great stuff. Can I just say, and this is obviously to all of you in the podcast, NUFC Matters, Steve, obviously, and all the people that do the podcast. When we raised money for Dementia Reform, Dementia Matters, just to let you all know that all the money that you always give went to rehome all them people that were in that place. And we got them all rehomed together. So there wasn't one penny wasted, and that's down to your generosity. Honestly, so from the bottom of my heart, helping now Tyneside HUK with Main Steve, grateful to be ambassadors of. Again, thank you very much for your kindness, and thank you so much for turning up tonight. And a big round of applause for the one and only Mr. Allon. Thank you.